So before we move on, I described how there are 15 steps. Those are 15 steps in time. Those are 15 steps in our experience during this evening. But we also have things on the table. And I want to just go over those briefly. Obviously, we have the Seder plate. A piece of Jewish art that sits waiting for the whole year for this moment. And on it there are 6 elements. What are these elements? Let's start with this one. Chazeret. So chazeret is horseradish. It's the bitter herb. Very bitter, brings tears to my eyes. When I grate this in preparation for Seder night, I wear goggles and grate it, otherwise my eyes are tearing. And we have maror. Okay? Maror is also bitter herbs. It used to be, in some traditions, and long time ago, only 5 things on the table. Now there are 6. Because lettuce, which is what is here as maror, was not available in East Europe. And they had chazeret, horseradish. So, to accommodate both traditions, room was made around the table for 6. One can ask, though, why maror as lettuce? I mean, lettuce we eat, right? Sweet. You have a nice lettuce salad, it's nice and sweet. And yet sometimes we buy a lettuce and we cut it up and we make a nice lettuce salad and it's really bitter. It's called shot. It's already put out the flour and it turns from something that's sweet to something that's really unedible within no time. I think that's the secret for why we use lettuce as bitter, the bitter herb, because of that ability to switch from something bitter, from something sweet to something bitter.
Like we had it good in Mitzrayim in the beginning, and then Vayakom Melech Hadash.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Here's Karpas. This is
Celery.
Celery, right? Celery, or we also use parsley. And this soon we're going to be dipping into salt water. This reminds us of putting the blood on the doorpost of the house before the last plague, the plague of the death of the firstborn. We have the egg. And the egg is beitzah, and this reminds us of the special sacrifice, the korban chagiga, that was brought on festivals at the time of the temple. We have zroa, and here there's a piece of burnt chicken wing. Vegetarians have, what do vegetarians use? Whatever
Guys,
vegetarians
what are you using? Tell us.
And this is a memory of the sacrifices in the temple.
For the Korban Pesach.
For Korban Pesach, thank you. The special sacrifice for Passover, for Pesach, and charoset. And I'm going to talk about charoset a little bit later. This is sweet. This is traditionally we were told that this is the mud that was used for the bricks, but I'm going to give you a different explanation a little bit later. So, what do we have on our plate? Well, a number of years ago, we were at a Seder with friends, and their 9-year-old daughter, Sariel, said, "These are archetypes." She didn't use that word, but she said, "These are archetypes for different people. You have the sweet people, you have the bitter people, you have the children, our children now, or our future children is the egg, and maybe the bone, the shank bone, is the ancestors, those who have passed." So we have in front of us different types of people. But then we can go one step further and say no, or as well as. These are all parts of me. I have a bitter side. I have an angry side, the shank bone. I have creativity that is still unborn, eggs still to hatch. I have my sweet side. And by recognizing all these and seeing all these as playing out inside me, I can go down into this journey and see how they play out, how I can turn the bitter side of me into the sweet side of me. That's the journey.
And what would be the karpas inside you?
Ooh, we're going to see the karpas, how it works in a minute. What would you say?
I'm just asking the questions.
So now we're getting to the next stage, which is?
Urchatz-Karpas. That's why I
Urchatz-Karpas.
asked about the karpas, because we're coming down to the karpas. So the washing, in many Haggadot, in many houses, like maybe one of the children will wash the hands of the person who leads the Seder. And we learned from one of our rabbis when we were very young and we were guests and Rabbi Meir Sender's and Rebbetzin Ann Sender's Seder. We learned a minhag that we haven't stopped doing since then, which is the Baalei Habayit, they're going and they're washing the hands of all the guests. So I'd like you to imagine that as we wash each other's hands, we're actually going around to your homes and we are washing your hands because you are a guest for this Seder.
And I want to say one more thing before that. That this act of washing each other's hands or pouring each other's wines is actually an act of humility. And that is part of the coming out of Egypt process, which is to reduce our egos and our inflated selves and to learn humility.
This time we wash without a blessing. We're getting ready for eating the karpas, which will dip in salt water. Those spring onions, spring greens that will dip in salt water. In the ancient time, we used to wash before every dipping, and we even asked, we wash twice in this event, and washing our hands has become such an important part of our culture lately. We remembered that how good it is to wash. Definitely more than once in an evening. So that was karpas, and now?
No.
That was urchatz, and now karpas.
So we're going to take, in this case, parsley, or we have here also celery.
This is called in Israel, it's called karpas. The Edot HaMizrach, they call this karpas. So this is...
And we're going to dip it into salt water, and we're going to eat it. And the kavanah, the thought that I want to bring before us while doing this is that at the beginning of this journey, we're going to go down into Mitzrayim, into our narrow place, that place inside that is so squashed. And the way the Haggadah does this experientially is to actually have us eat our tears. And the salt water just like our tears. So give yourselves time, chew on the karpas, and let yourselves into that place inside you that doesn't have room to breathe, that is in confinement, quarantine, that is squashed, that is unheard, that needs to breathe, that needs to get out, that needs space.
And we'll bless Bore Pri Adama.